So I only just completed Hunger Games last year for the first time. Why did nobody shout at me louder to complete this? Look, I did not watch the Hunger Games back in its heyday because all everyone talked about in its first heyday, because we're kind of in the middle of the second one now, was Peeta vs. Gale. My young, self-closeted, asexual self did not see the appeal of a story about love triangles. And honestly, reading it now, it was the worst part of the books because of how long it went on for and how much it was being built up and just sort of happened. Look, what I'm not saying is that I hate the love triangles. I'm saying that there's so much more to the Hunger Games than just a love triangle. You guys were all too competitively thirsty to tell me about this sooner. And now I'm realizing how much this applies to dystopia as a whole. My favorite sci-fi books are dystopians. Mindwalker, the Scythe trilogy, the Slated trilogy, and the Hunger Games now. And I love it equally when it combines fantasy elements into it too, such as Brandon Sanderson's Reckoners or Samantha Shannon's Bone Season. But also some of the worst books that I have read in sci-fi and out of sci-fi have been dystopia books. It seems there's two sides to this coin. You're either gonna make something absolutely groundbreaking or you're gonna make trash. Which makes me think that many authors and publishers actually don't know how to do dystopia well. They don't know what makes it good. Today, I'm doing my first ever sci-fi deep dive on this channel to tell you how deeply dystopia has been done dirty. Before we continue, we need to actually define what a dystopia is in terms of the sci-fi genre. But judging by today's society, we don't need to think that hard about it. Dystopia is the counterpart to a utopia, a perfect way of life and living. Dystopia is a society that is bad, that is frightening, that people living in it know that they don't want to be a part of. Some traits of dystopian societies include being set in the near future from the time that it was published, being ruled by a totalitarian leader, and there being a lot of classism and poverty divides, with laws that are vastly different to our own. These laws can be very bizarre and yet pivotal to the way that these societies in dystopias function. This can range from sending children into death battles to compete every year, to forcing everybody to undergo plastic surgery when they turn 18, to ritually killing off people when they turn 25 in the name of rebirth and renewal, or brainwashing people who don't follow the laws by showing them videos against their will of the ways that they are supposed to react. Some of these laws may sound bizarre, but if the research done and the analysis done on 1984 by George Orwell is anything to go by, they can be scarily accurate to the way that society is progressing now. Dystopia critiques the present by taking a present-day flaw in society to the extreme. Well, at least the strong ones. During the peaks of dystopia, some authors would find any old obscure law to be able to put into these dystopian societies and build a society out of them. Like forcing everyone to take a personality test to prove where in society they actually belong. Or making goth and punk culture illegal. But those are more weaker ones. The strongest dystopias end up taking something that is a flaw in our present day, taking it to the extreme, and exploring what the consequences of those things are. And why do they do this? To warn people about the way that our society is going and to encourage change to happen. 1984 did a very scary prediction of what modern life may end up being like back when it was written in 1949. One such prediction was mass surveillance, where the government would have the power to be able to track people through cameras, two-way screens, hidden microphones, you name it, they're going to track you through it. And somehow, with the number of ways that apps and smartphones are able to track you now, surveillance doesn't seem to be as scary to the mass public as it actually is. So much so that Big Brother, which was a term made in 1984, ended up becoming an entire TV show that centered around being surveyed by cameras and microphones at all times. They're turning that into entertainment now? 1984 has also commented on other practices such as censorship, creating war for the sake of creating war, and poverty. Issues that still plague us today despite first being written at the end of World War II. The modern dystopian greats also take a similar direction. Tumblr user Roachwork says that Hunger Games includes a commentary on reality TV stars, where media machines create golden idols out of abused kids and then leave the actual people inside their glamorous shells to rot. With the framing of the first and second Hunger Game books, this seems to be very much an angle on reality TV stars. Yes, you could apply this for other celebrities, but this seems to be the main focus here that Roachworks pulled out. Interviewing contestants, stylists and sponsors, making moves so the audience members can sponsor you and ensure your survival in the late game. Even in instances where these characters may have been an ally at the start, the reality TV environment twists these people to be able to turn on them and think in immoral ways just to win. If you don't think this kind of extreme can apply to our modern day TV, just watch The Traitors and how so many friendships have been broken through there. In other dystopian novels that I have enjoyed, this continues to be the case. Scythe is a critique on immortality and the people who hold the power to kill people, including the ways that these people get corrupted by so much power. This is likely an allegory towards police brutality, healthcare distribution, and government corruption. Slated is a critique on the ways that children are treated in the justice system, particularly those who are children of criminals. Mindwalker commentates on corporations rising in power and them dictating laws about what is and isn't lawful based on the products that they make. Roachworks further states that Hunger Games had a genuine core of righteous anger that resonated with a lot of people. And you can say that about the other dystopias that I have listed. They don't need to make up a ridiculous way of living because the roots of that are found right here. Meanwhile, what's Divergent upset about? Personality tests? Star signs? Being not like other girls? You cannot identify a clear problem in modern society that Divergent is linking to, or even a past problem to reflect upon. It makes Divergent digestible, but it hasn't stuck around in the same light and the same sort of respect that Hunger Games has. It doesn't give us something to be angry about today. And other dystopia stories that I have read or have tried to read don't really get this either. In our present day, we can't see this being possible, so we are not able to relate to them in the same way or see the power that these stories truly hold. This is what I find differentiates a dystopian story being well loved and considered a great, and a dystopia story being trash. It creates a story where a protagonist is easy to root for and a government easy to root against. Government control in dystopia. The government in dystopia is the representation of corruption, usually with a leader or a figurehead who is the stone-cold dictator. The representation of the anti-theme, what you should not be learning from this story. Their claim to power is usually explained through a historical event that happens close to our present day that leads to this new solution being created to build a new society. Nuclear war is a common one, but others can include some terrorism attacks, some scientific research that has gone to a very corrupted stage, or monopolization. That board game's not so fun now, is it? The way the government is at the start of the story is the leader's ideal view of the world. This is something that they have fought for and will do anything to keep, which is why they have a moral means of keeping it. To give you a poor example of this, let's examine Star Wars. The only bad thing that we see the Empire do is mass murder, and we don't know why this planet killing is happening except to show that the Empire is in power. They are unstoppable and they should not be disobeyed, but how exactly do you disobey them? Is there any other reason innocents are being killed and mass destruction weapons are being made? Why is the Empire upset at these specific planets? What laws and actions are unfair that people are fighting over? If you keep blasting people into oblivion, you won't have any people to rule over, so I don't want to hear your answers to all this stuff based on sequel and prequel stuff. In the original trilogy, it is such bad storytelling, and it is baffling that an entire franchise came out of this.
Hello, Editing Amy here, just to add in that even if it was included in the original movie or the original Star Wars trilogy, I do not remember it. I do not remember why these people were being punished, or what the rules were that these people were fighting against. So that is bad storytelling regardless.
Murder is never a good answer under a true dystopian government. It is control. In Iron Widow by Shirin J. Xiao, there are several ways that women get controlled in society and men remain in power. While the government in this world claims that it's to do with some biological disadvantages, the protagonist Wu Zetian is living proof against it. They hold equal, if not more, power to pilot these chrysalises, giant mech robot things, than her male counterparts. And throughout the first book, she ends up uncovering these lies that were made just to keep women out of power. In the video game Detroit Become Human, through the use of androids, we also see this happen as well. Androids who are literally programmed to follow their human masters to a T. even if their human masters are abusing them and mistreating them. When they break past this programming and are able to get more agency, only then do they get hunted down and need to get destroyed. Dystopian governments expect pure obedience. It is laws. It is rights. It is surviving the everyday. It is a government or a law enforcer that won't bend and is so rigid in their ways because the changes that they will make, they fear will make them lose power. So they make laws to choose who holds power, how much power is being held, and you sure as hell know it's not equitable. A perfect dystopian government is a villain who won't kill you straight away. They will use you to prove their points. The symbolism of rebellion in dystopia. To counter the government, we need a rebellion, which is a common trope across sci-fi and fantasy. When your ruler is immoral, your rebellions are there, hidden in the shadows, ready to take them down. In dystopia, it's a critical trope to have. It's the main group that holds the morals and the good things within the story, and it's so critical to get right. So how does one get a rebellion right? Let's look at a couple of examples here. Brandon Sanderson's Reckoner series is a dystopian fantasy where cities are ruled over with an iron fist by corrupt superheroes. And little rebellion groups called Reckoners seek to directly take these tyrants down. Pretty direct example there. The problem is the person, so we work out how to assassinate them. In the Mindwalker novels by Kate Dillon, the rebellion is taking down corporations that hold laws and power over people. While at times killing people can be part of their investigations, they also aim to get evidence of the immoral activities that these companies are doing. This is so that they can alert press and shift public perception, ultimately to make them lose customers and shut down. Dystopian rebellion is the act of fighting for something, and that's why it's powerful and integral to this genre. During my research, I have noticed a shift in dystopian stories pre-1990 and post-1990. Novels published as dystopias before the 90s, such as 1984, Brave New World, and The Handmaid's Tale, write dystopian stories as tragedies. Even if a rebellion group does exist in these stories, they are thwarted or not seeming to be able to take down the government properly. Sometimes in these stories, society as a whole just collapse, making them a very grim genre to consume. It isn't until the 1990s, with stories like Children of Men by P.D. James and Parable of the Talents by Octavia E. Butler, that we see the successful takedown of these dystopian governments. This leads to rebellions going absolutely ham and being increasingly crucial to the genre in the 2000s. Margaret Atwood even jumped onto this trend with a sequel to The Handmaid's Tale that led to the restoration of the United States through rebellious efforts. The political landscape created in the past 30 years, plus protest culture shifts, likely changed this. This transformed the genre into uplifting heroes and the kinds of stories that would inspire people to change the worlds themselves. Furthermore, we also see critiques of these rebellious groups, such as Katniss in The Hunger Games stopping the leaders of the rebellion from doing exactly the same as the previous government did, just taking power and punishing people who weren't actively involved. Because these people don't realize that it's not just President Snow who's corrupt, it's the entire system of Panem. And in the slated trilogy by Terry Terry, the main character Kyla at first joins a rebellion, but then realizes that they're doing the wrong thing, just killing and assassinating people, and ends up joining a different peacemaking group to be able to make the better changes in the world. Rebellions in dystopia don't just fight for the lives of people, but also the kinds of lives that they should be living. This is something that resonates today just because of how often we are fighting for rights now. And while the fights for a fair future are hard, dystopia is a look at a world that failed to do what we are doing now and are fighting to extreme absurds. People rebel and people make changes. It's because of this above all else that dystopia continues to get studied in schools. And it's also why we are seeing a resurgence of it with Squid Game and the different Hunger Games prequels. However, now that I mentioned both of them, it already upsets me the kinds of things that they are doing with them. Because the production companies that are telling some of these stories, not the writers necessarily, are entirely missing the point. Capitalizing and commodifying dystopia. The challenges of these games of death, or the love triangles, or what faction you might belong in may seem fun on the surface, but if that's all that you remember and all you use to advertise these stories, I consider it very tasteless. I recently watched a video by the Queer Kiwi that emphasizes this point specifically on the Hunger Games. We will be touching on that a little bit more, but there's a couple other things that we need to touch on too. This particular subgenre or aesthetic of dystopia, cyberpunk, is a prime example of this in action. Cyberpunk is best described as low life quality but high tech quality, with a bunch of these technological advancements being placed against a dystopian world. Blade Runner and The Matrix are amongst these examples. It was made as a cautionary tale, but due to the visual appeal that cyberpunk has as a whole, it has created entire cyberpunk and cybergoth cultures and aesthetics as early as the late 1980s. It takes the flashy tech aesthetic of these stories, but pulls it out of the low life quality and the commentary being made of industrialism. People are leaving behind these cautionary tales even today as AI takes root and infects places where we never even wanted AI in the first place. Squid Game, as I mentioned earlier, is another victim of ignoring the true story and commodifying a dystopian story for its aestheticism. The Korean TV series revolves around people involved in economic struggles entering a game show to be able to win a large sum of money, billions of Korean won. But all losers within this game must die. It became Netflix's most watched series back when it was released in 2021. The games within this series were very quickly replicated for video game purchases, such as crab games, followed by an official Squid Games video game in 2024. Netflix, even in 2023, made a reality TV series where people actually participated in these challenges just without the death consequences for a chance to win cash. The fact that the very thing Squid Games warned us about happened 2 years later disgusts me. I wanted to hear about some of the conditions that people went through in this reality TV show. One such example that I found was contestants getting overheated and fainting in the red light green light challenge. I was baffled that all this happened even back when it was publicized. Critics and reporters even pointed this out, including this one point from Angie Han of The Hollywood Reporter. It looks not like a one-off curiosity, but like a brand extension that fundamentally misunderstands what the brand was meant to represent in the first place. They were, in short, being exploited so some billion-dollar corporation could squeeze out a few extra bucks by selling contestants' distress as entertainment. You can try and take the anti-capitalism out of Squid Game, but capitalism will always find a way to rear its ugly head. I severely hope that this show existing and the resurgence of the Hunger Games won't lead to actual Hunger Games scenarios happening in real life. And then all the factions in Divergent, where there was an official quiz to determine what faction and place in society you had, which goes against the plot on the book, but was used as a genuine and official marketing tool. Or Big Brother coming out of 1984 and being a reality show where you are surveilled all the time and judged as a result by what you are doing. I originally made this video with the argument that dystopia was being done dirty because the authors don't know the power that dystopia truly holds. That the people who jump on the trend for the sake of it don't know the power and responsibility they can hold while writing them. That the greatest dystopias make us upset about the world that we are living in, and they make us want to rebel, and that is truly why you write a dystopia. But now I realize dystopia is being done dirty because the messages within them are not being listened to. People jump onto these trends because they're aesthetic, they're cool, and they're trendy. And that was to the point where dystopia became cringy because people don't understand the genre, both the creators and the consumers. And the things that people take away or talk about within these stories contradict the actual messages within them. And we straight up see the warning signs within the books about what could happen and what is happening right before us. It is happening right before us, and has happened right before us. So let this video be a public service announcement to never stop reading dystopia books. Find the good ones, the old ones that show us that we didn't see the signs, and the new ones that show us the early warning signs of how far gone we could soon be. Find injustices in this world, and write stories that inspire us to fight against them. Stay aware, stay vigilant. Stay rebellious. It feels so weird asking you to subscribe after that message, but I still recommend that you do. Gosh, it feels so weird to do all the YouTuber stuff after giving that kind of message. I don't think I should. I haven't yet written a dystopia story, but there is some ideas that I have been brewing about it, so you can stick around for that. And to see all the other different ways throughout all of my stories, I comment on things that are happening in today's society. And whether it is a utopia to live in peacefully or a dystopia where we shall become rebels together, I shall see you in another world.